Unit 12. Social change. Social change is constantly encountered in our daily lives. This is because the society we live in is itself changing all the time. The concept of social transformation is very closely linked to social change. Sometimes the two terms are used interchangeably. Sociologists have been trying to answer and explain in main three basic questions of social change. First, the question of whether social change is good or bad. Second, the causal factors of social change. And third, the impact of social change to society. Modern sociology helps us understand and provide with explanation the complex set of changes that societies experience in the process of human history. In this unit, we shall discuss the concepts and various aspects of social change and social transformation. Concept and meaning of social change. Social change has been understood and defined in many different ways. This is due to differences in perceptions and perspective of the concept and variation in labeling weightage to the idea and nature of social change. However, it is generally agreed among sociologists that the focus in the discourse of social change is the aspect of occurrence of significant alterations in the organization and or structure and functions of social life rather than the regular short term and predictable reoccurrences. We shall attempt a working definition of social change. The definition incorporates the aspects of significant changes in the various patterns of social relationships, social processes, social patterns, action and interaction. The rules of relationships and conduct, values, symbols and cultural products. The concept of social change also refers to variations over time in both the material and non-material aspects of culture. These changes take place both from within the societies and from without, that is brought about by external forces. The concept of social transformation is very closely related to that of social change. Social transformation is a relatively new term that has gained some popularity in the recent decades in the discourse of social sciences. In fact, social transformation is a radical form of social change. It is a more abrupt change of a society and or state, usually with a larger scale, through agents such as revolution. The concept connotes the idea of a particularly deep and far-reaching change that alters the way of life of the people within a limited span of time. Social change is an the other hand Social change is, on the other hand, essentially concerned with minor and persistent changes in the social organization and or social structure of a society, such as changes brought about in the patterns of family, marriage, and educational institution. In the following discussion, we shall use social change as connoting both the persistent change and radical and abrupt changes, unless a specific mention is made. Approaches to understanding social change. There are a few main approaches to the understanding of social change and or social transformation. They are evolutionary theories, cyclical theories, and structural, functional, and conflict theories. Synthesis of social change theories. Evolutionary theories. Evolutionary theories of social change are conglomeration of many but interrelated theories of change. The main notion of the evolutionary theory of change is that there is a consistent direction of social change of all societies in a similar sequence of stages from the original to the final stage of development, or from from a simple and primitive to the more complex and advanced state. Evolutionary theory also implies that evolutionary change will culminate at reaching the final stage of the development. Evolutionary theorists consider change as progress and growth. The theory can be classified into two main categories: A. Classical evolutionary theories, B. Neo evolutionary theories. A. Classical evolutionary theories. The classical evolutionary theories have been developed by the 19th century anthropologists and sociologists. Although approaches differ among them, there is an underlying principle of convergence of ideas that evolutionary change takes place in a unilinear and similar direction. They largely draw an analogy of the progress of animal life from the simple unicalled organisms to the most complex animal, the human being. They believe that as societies evolve and grow, the functions of its members would also become more specialized, just as the development of millions of body cells to perform specific functions within an interrelated system. The main proponents of the classical theories of evolutionary change includes Auguste Comte. We shall consider some of the frameworks of classification of human evolution developed by these classical evolutionists. Auguste Comte, 1798 to 1857, a French scholar and founder of sociology, propounded that all societies passed through three stages of growth. Number one, the theological stage. Number two, the metaphysical state. And number three, positive or scientific stage. Herbert Spencer, 1820 to 1903, an English scholar, inspired by Darwin's theories of organic evolution, opined that human societies move through a series of social evolutionary stages from smaller and simpler structures to larger and more complex structures. This theory was later known as social Darwinism. The idea of social evolution was well received and popular among the 19th century anthropological and sociological thinkers. At about the same time, Lewis Henry Morgan, a contemporary of E.B. Taylor, made great impact in America by contributing to the evolutionary schemes of thinking and research by engaging on the origin and development of family, marriage, and kinship system. He saw the development of human society in three broad stages, based mainly on technological innovations, savagery, barbarism, and civilization. The first two stages were divided into sub stages, which were denoted lower, middle, and upper. The last stage was marked by the emergence of invention of phonetic alphabet and writing. Unit 12, Social Change. B. Neo-evolutionary school. Evolutionary theories were revived in 20th century by V. Gordon Childe, Julian Stewart, and Leslie White. Their formulations of evolutionary theories are characterized by careful scrutiny of evidence, systematic analysis, and rigorous reasoning. To distinguish them from the classical evolutionary theorists, they have also been labeled as neo-evolutionists. Marshall D. Shahlins and Elman Service attempted a synthesis of the theories of evolution by developing the concept of a specific and general evolution. The main claim of these theories was that evolution moved simultaneously in two directions in both the biological and cultural aspects. This evolutionary process then led to progress and made new ones emerge out of the old ones. They considered these two processes as interconnected in its totality. Thus, in the former stage, it took specific biological and cultural processes and then continued to give effect in the progress of successive forms of evolution, which were general in nature for both the resultant aspects of evolution. While the former was classified in terms of the order of descent, the latter was done in terms of the levels of development or stages. For instance, specific evolution would imply development in local cultures and its subunits or groups of cultures in a relatively shorter period, while the general cultural evolution would mean the processes of successive forms of development, such as the stages of hunting and gathering, agriculture, industrial revolution, atomic age, nuclear age, etc. This principle could be applied to other spheres of evolution such as religion, kinship structure, and so on. Cyclical theories. Cyclical theories have been concerned with the repetitious change of conditions, events, forms, and or fashions over a long period of time. Although the period of recurrent phases of change would vary, the cyclical theorists believe that societies pass through a series of stages. However, they do not consider the notion of ending in a stage of perfection, but see them as a return to the stage where it began for further round in a cyclic manner. A.L. Koreber, 1876 to 1960, a well-known American anthropologist, provides a classical analysis of cyclical pattern of clothing style changes of Western women. Kroeber found that clothing styles in Western societies followed certain patterns over long periods of time, and even within these patterns were observed changes in more or less regular cycles. Koreber also discovered that the basic pattern of Western women's dress in the medieval and modern ages, spanning about 1,000 years, has gone through a constant remodeling without any fundamental change. Koreber found that the general pattern included a long skirt, a narrow waist, and a top with arms and breasts partially exposed. Periodically, within this general form, there is a cyclical change. Hemlines rise and fall. The waistline moves up and down from just under the bust to the hips, and the amount of cleavage shown increases and decreases. Koreber also discovered that women's dressing in the past West repeat themselves over and over within cycles of about 100 years. Petrim Sorokin, a Russian American sociologist, believed that all great civilizations pass through three cultural systems in a cyclic way. Number one, the identical culture society based on faith and revelation. Second, the idealist culture society guided by a mixed notion of supernatural beliefs and empiricism. And third, the sensate culture society, which are guided by imperial sense perceptions. He opined that all societies need not necessarily decay, but rather they go through various stages by shifting from one cycle to another as the needs of the society demand. Structural, functional, and conflict theories. The structural, functional, and conflict theories are generally concerned with micro and middle range theories of social change. The structural functionalists assume that society, like the human body, is a balanced system of institutions, each of which performs a function in maintaining society. They consider change as a constant and requires no explanation. They hold that changes disrupt the equilibrium of a society until the change has been integrated into the culture. Societies accept and adopt those changes that are found useful, while they reject changes that are useless. They opine that when events within and outside and without the society disrupt the equilibrium, social institutions makes adjustment to restore stability. For instance, a natural calamity, a famine, an influx of immigrants, or a war may disrupt the social order and compel the social institutions to make adjustments. Karl Marx was one the great exponents of conflict theories. He looked at society as composition of oppositional forces, the oppressors and the oppressed. Such notion led him to predict the revolt of the masses. He saw conflict as the stage of development and progress that would lead to a higher order. Karl Marx was the first to introduce dialectical pattern of change to sociological analysis of change, which concept had already been analyzed by the German philosopher G.W.F. Hegel. A dialectical pattern of change is neither linear nor cyclical. It assumes that new social forms emerge out of the old social forms through opposition and conflict. Karl Marx and his followers propound that a social form gives rise to new social form due to oppositional forces and conflict with the existing old social form. It would mean that thesis generates antithesis and antithesis generates synthesis. And again, synthesis would give rise to a new antithesis, which in turn generates a new synthesis, and the alternate process goes on. Synthesis of social change theories. Most theories today integrate the various ideas and theories of social change that have been discussed above. There are very few theorists that still hold on their own ideas and theories. There are also not many theorists who believe that social change always result in improvement, or that societies inevitably decay. There is a general agreement, however, that societies change because of various factors conditioned on the society. These factors could be both within and without the society, and or planned and unplanned. Many theorists do believe that changes in societies are not necessarily good or bad. They opine that although a stable society is usually better than a chaotic and conflict-ridden society, stability would sometimes imply exploitation, oppression, and injustice. Factors of social change. Social change is brought about by various factors. These factors are mainly responsible for the differences in the rate and nature of change in different societies and at different times. They may be broadly classified into the following categories: biological factors, geographic factors, technological factors, and socio-cultural factors. Biological factors. Biological factors may be further classified into two types: non-human biological factors and human biological factors. The non-human biological factors include plants and animals. They affect the lives of the people in very varied ways. Human beings need plant and animals for survival, be it for food, cloth, medicine, and other purposes, in many different ways as defined by one's culture. At the same time, man also eliminates or keep away harmful and poisonous plants and animals by any available means. Man also needs plants and animals indirectly for availing oxygen and other utilities through many processes, including photosynthesis. Besides, the biological environment also keeps on changing as one animal species gains ground at the cost of some other species in the course of a struggle for existence. The struggle for existence of the species is also conditioned by geographic factors. The changes in the ecological system affects human lives add changes the course of his struggle for survival. But modern man has been able to overcome much of the instabilities through various means of gaining control over the environment, such as domestication of species and other technological know-how. Human biological factors do affect social change in two ways in main: the genetic character of a given population and the quantity, density, and composition of population. Although the influence of genetic character has not been as important as the latter, it cannot be sidelined altogether. The intelligence level of Homo sapiens from other lower animals is enough indication of the capability and potential of human faculty that bears on socio-cultural development. The human genetic character plays roles in the determination of numbers, composition, and selection of population on one hand, and hereditary quality of the successive generations. Human beings are changing all the time. We are different from our parents in our physical makeup, intelligence, and behaviors. Every individual not identical with other either. Nevertheless, it is the change of genetic character of the human beings, except for the process of mutation and variations in genetic combination that determine the physical and mental makeup of human beings. Population change, unlike genetic factors, is considered to be one of the most important factors of social change. Growth in population and also its composition have been affecting various aspects of socio-cultural lives. With the invention of new technologies and enhanced knowledge of healthcare and sanitation, the rate of death has decreased greatly over the past 2 centuries. The decrease in the death rate has caused an enormous increase in the size of population. Simultaneously, life expectancy and lifespan have also increased. Thus, population change has itself become a social change and factor of further social and cultural changes. Migration brings about further change by creating a new environment, setting after the contact of two or more alien peoples and cultures with numerous new problems. Migration could also affect to the processes of acculturation, cultural diffusion, and or social conflict. On the other hand, food productivity would not improve that fast to be able to catch up with the growing population. There is a general tendency in India that population increases faster than the food productivity or food supply. Such incompatible situation could lead to other consequences, such as an attempt to improve food productivity by increasing the acreage under cultivation, farming technology, or other sources on one hand, and migration, famine, disease, or war on the other hand. There would also be tendency for checking of population growth by possible means, such as family planning, among others. Thus, a population change has itself become a social change and a factor of further social and cultural changes. Geographical factors. Geographic changes have been significant factors of social change. There are several instances where social changes have been brought about by geographic factors. For instance, the complete annihilation of inhabitants of Pompeii by volcanic eruptions, the destruction of San Francisco by earthquake and fire in 1906, the migrations of the Irish population to the United States after the potato famine in Ireland in the 1840s, the migrations of the inhabitants of southern United States to southern California due to drought in the 1930s, and so on. Natural disasters can cause both environmental and social changes. Victims of a natural disaster may be left without friends, relatives, or resources besides their severe psychological trauma. They may have to abandon their community or completely rebuild it. Ecological change is also a major source of social change in the modern times. Many ecological changes have also been induced by human beings. For instance, the size of a population of a geographic area and the manner in which the people exploit its natural resources have much to do with ecological change and social change. Overpopulation of a region, overexploitation of a region border area due to social and political conflict, deforestation, construction of large dams, among others, for one reason or another, have caused enormous social and ecological problems in the contemporary world, which are found to be even greater factors of social change than migrations and disasters. Technological factors. Technology has been considered as one of the important factors of social change. This is quite true, particularly in the context of the contemporary world. This is for the fact that variation in technology affects social organization and or structure of a society in a significant way. However, the magnitude and the rate of change could differ from one period and situation to another depending on the availability and use of technology. For instance, change was very slow in the remote past prehistoric age when our forefathers used crude implements such as stone tools for their day-to-day activities and survival. With the invention of modern technology, things have become very different with both good and bad effects. The introduction of machine technology after the inventions and discoveries of advanced and sophisticated sources of energy and capabilities has brought about drastic changes. In other words, modern technologies have resulted in revolutionary change, be it industrial revolution, grain revolution, technical revolution, and so on. All these revolutions have been largely responsible to the change in the mode of production, relations of production, old forms of social organization and of structure, old ideologies, attitudes, beliefs, and traditions. This is so because man adapts to the change of material environment caused by technology. We have ample examples of such phenomena. The invention of gunpowder, atom bomb, and nuclear weapons have changed the techniques of war. The opening of transport networks due to modern technologies have enabled people to be more mobile and accessible to other places which would otherwise be impossible in the distant past. The invention of writing and other modern communication systems such as telephones, internet, etc., have made it much easier for people to communicate with each other even in distant places. Likewise, new technologies in the area of modern medicines have also enormously improved the state of human health system and its environment. Industrial revolution has also brought about many changes in the society. The shift from agrarian to industrial production or from feudalism to capitalism have affected social changes affecting family relations, religion, and other institutions including the state. In almost the same way, green revolution does bring about changes in the society. While modern technology has been a great boon to man, there are also the other dark side of it. This is mainly due to change of the old ways of life and system. Destructive nature of the technologies being designed or misuse of technologies for destructive ends. For example, the perceived ill effects of technology on the society and its social institutions can be observed in many ways. One such impact is the disintegration of community life and promotion of individualism. The abuse of modern technologies to humanity has been quite alarming indeed. We can readily cite a few human induced disasters due to modern technologies that are very familiar to us. Sociocultural factors have been the most important casual factors of social changes. Man is the most important player of social change. In fact, man is the originator and main agent of cultural changes. Change has been caused by various human activities in the form of discovery, invention, diffusion, social movements, and so on. Change is also caused by the attitudes and values of the people towards innovation in a particular society. There are also variations of attitudes of individuals within the society. Some individuals would consider the values of the society more seriously than other fellow men and vice versa. Society is located at world crossroads. Areas of greatest intercultural contact have always been centers of change. This is so because these societies in closest contact with other societies are more likely to change more rapidly through the process of diffusion. There are also other agents of agricultural contacts and diffusion, such as war, trade, media, and tourism. On the other hand, isolated areas are generally centers of stability, conservatism, and resistance of change. Ethnographic evidences show that the most primitive tribes have been found among the most isolated communities. Discoveries and inventions have contributed much to the process of social change. This truth is increasingly realized in modern times after the introduction of modern technological know-how. Discoveries and inventions are process of innovations that can alter society. While discoveries are the act of finding something that has always existed but that was not known earlier. Inventions, on the other hand, are devices constructed by putting two or more things together in a new way. The discovery of America led to the massive migrations from Europe and the creation of new state, the United States of America. The discovery of penicillin also prevented from various diseases. Again, the discovery of oil and other minerals have also brought great social changes in the locality where it is found. In the same way, the inventions of alphabet, modern state, etc., automobile, telephone, etc., have caused enormous social change, diffusion. The process of the spread of culture from group to group has been considered as one of the main causes of social change. Diffusion takes place within societies and between societies through contact. This is why the process of diffusion becomes difficult to penetrate in a situation of isolation. Jazz, which was originated among black musicians of New Orleans, diffused to other groups within the society and then later spread to other societies as well and to different parts of the world. Social movement is certainly one of the most important factors of social change. We can understand social movement into two different forms. One, those movements organized to create some new social forms that are usually radical and liberal in nature. And two, those movements concerned with maintaining or recreating other older social forms that are generally conservative or reactionary. However, in both these cases, social change will depend much on the success of the movements and the impact it could cause to the society. Revolutionary movement may be considered as a kind of social movement. Revolutionary movements also cause social change. The French Revolution of 1789 witnessed the rise of French democracy, rise of modern civilian army and was a great eye opener and model for many peoples in different parts of the world who are struggling for liberation and justice. The Russian Revolution is also another example of revolutionary change that brought an end to monarchical governments and class stratification in Russia. Rate of social change. The rate of change in the speed at which change occurs in time and space. The rate of change has never been the same or uniform at all times. In the remote past, change was observed to be very slow, whereas in the recent times, change has become relatively very fast due to various factors such as new technological inventions, diffusions, and social revolutions. New scientific and technological revolution through new inventions paved way for the rapid change. For instance, industrial revolution, which was a great breakthrough in the system of production and distribution of goods that has brought great and rapid change in the modern times, have been largely the result of scientific and technological inventions. Social or cultural revolution also contributes to the acceleration of social change aside from technological material revolution. Revolutionary social change are large scale changes in the structure of a society or a state. Revolutionary changes generally mean major or complete alteration in the entire basis of structure of a society, including its various social institutions, culture, ideas, and belief systems. Many revolutionary movements of socialism, democracy, nation state, self determination, etc., are also responsible for acceleration of social change. However, we should keep in mind that the rates of change that are being discussed are not the same for all societies. Even within the same society, there are variations in the rate of change. For instance, changes in urban areas are observed to be faster than those in rural areas. In the same way, changes will also be faster in the societies that are more open and receptive to change. Impact of social change. The impact of social change on human society has been a major concern for social scientists, particularly sociologists. The impact can be understood in two levels: impact of individual and group or society. However, there are different views among sociologists on the nature of impacts on human society. There are various sociologists who believe that industrial society alienates individuals from one another because of the nature of the work. Karl Marx was one of the thinkers who believed that the move from agrarian to industrial societies would alienate people from their work. This he felt was inevitable because the goods produced would be owned by the factory owners and not the workers. There are also other sociologists who think that industrial society would affect human society. Ferdinand Tönnies and Marx and Max Weber, among others, may be cited as those sociologists who prescribed to the idea that industrial society would affect human relationships, albeit in different ways. Sociologists are also aware that modern socializations and lifestyles encourages individuals to behave in a way that would be compatible with industrial life and socialized professions. The media also plays immense role in influencing the individuals to emulate and adapt to the lifestyles of the middle class. The introduction of modern know-how and technology has also caused great problems and anxiety to human life. The heavy use of automobiles and fuels causes massive pollution and hazardous emissions. It also pollutes and damages the physical environment that man depends for survival. The acute demand for fuel and means to meet the demand have often led to conflicts between communities and states, even to the extent of war. The invention and use of nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction have caused great concern to humanity. It has in fact caused more insecurity than ever before. The inventions of deadly weapons of mass destruction make us think as to where we are heading for towards the end of human civilization, or towards a civilization of great insecurity and uncertainties. Social change and the future. One of the greatest challenges of sociologists has been the question of whether future of society can be predicted as those of some natural sciences. Many sociologists have also been attempting to predict the future in their own ways. However, sociologists have not been that successful in this effort. It is indeed a difficult task before the sociologists today. There are obvious reasons for this difficulty. Multi-causality of social change and complexity of social life are two of the most important factors that hinder in the prediction of future. Change is caused by a multiple number of events, and the exact contours of the future are unpredictable. The combination of multiple causes and its influence on one another is rather difficult to assess and predict. The emergence of unexpected elements, be it technology or social activities, have caused yet another difficulty in predicting the future. Latent or unintended consequences of the past changes is difficult to discover. Therefore, it becomes difficult to predict long-term change of the society. Temporocentrism is one of the factors for the difficulty in predicting the future. This is due to the fact that sociologists are all members of the society of one's lifetime and therefore tend to share in some way the basis of the time. Summary. Social change is a universal phenomenon that takes place in our lives. Social change is greatly understood as the process of occurrence of significant alterations in the organization and or structure and functions of social life. Social transformation is considered as a form of social change that occurs in a radical and abrupt manner. There are various approaches for understanding social change. Evolutionary theories hold the view that all societies pass through a similar sequence of developmental stages until it culminates in some final stage. They see social change as progress and growth that is good for the society. Cyclical theories assume that societies pass through a cycle of changes, grow, reach a peak of development, and then decay and repeats the cycle again in the same pattern. Structural functional theories view that there is stability and order in the society, but changes do occur occasionally. Conflict theories believe that conflict occasionally arise in societies to correct adverse social developments, which outcome would be better than the old systems. Social change is caused by various factors: biological, geographic, technological, and socio-cultural factors. We also find variant rates of social change depending on various conditions and situations. Sociologists are also concerned about the various impacts of change on human society. While some impacts are commendable, there are several impacts of social change that are disturbing and destructive in nature. Then there is also the question of whether or not social change is predictable. The answer would be yes, but to a limited extent.